So, can you hear me? Can you see me? Is it adequate?
I can hear you. Unfortunately, I can see you.
What? You're fucking got a lot better eyesight than that ref on Saturday.
Out of all the things there is to speak about today, I guess we have to talk about a couple of refereeing misdemeanors, which is literally taken the entire MMA world's attention, which is, I can't remember anything from here besides maybe like the Klongwa knockout, maybe Aziashu Chitamba's knockout. This is like the next biggest thing to come out of SA.
It kills me because I became friends and met. It was literally a very similar situation, but it was a contentious decision. Brendan Katz didn't arrive, if you all remember, but your first studio.
Yeah.
And then friendship was formed. But I was on the other side, trying to be objective, and I'm trying to find some sort of and it's very hard. It's very hard for me to buy. I've got, you would have got 1,000 phone calls, 1,000 WhatsApp, me voice notes. What's going on? What's the story? It's hard for me to find a positive stuff. I'm going to plug on the negative because it's necessary, because it's not negative deal, and then we're going to try to find positive where we should go from there. So they're trying to blood new refs, which I was pushing for a long time. Absolutely necessary, got to be done, but it has to be an organic growth. You've got to put your time in. You've got to have a very solid structure around you. You've got to like mentors that push you through and push your boundaries, but also be real with you. It's like you saying to me, Justin, I need you to lose 50 kilos for this podcast by next week. Not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, let's be realistic in our goals. So, yes, Natasha, who is very, by the way, I've worked with her before. I didn't think she was ready, even though she's done a lot of alpha stuff like that. There was a big mistake made. And one that other people have made mistakes before. One is slightly different in that when you learn to be an official and a referee, you're meant to err on the side of caution. I've always, under any team that I've led, under any team that I've been a part of, I will always stand by you, but I would rather have the argument with you about that was too early and he wasn't out and that's a mistake, but then the promoter or the system can build a rematch. Different if it's a title, etc. But there are rematches available, etc. But the point is that somebody is there to argue with you. That person could say, I wasn't out. On this occasion, it was the opposite. And it's hard to excuse. I'm sad because I know this girl. She's got the best intentions. She really does. I just think she made a massive mistake, and it needs, well, it has. It doesn't need anything because it's got it. You literally know you're in trouble, and you know you cocked up when the person who literally wrote the rules had an opinion about you and said that you should be in the same building as a fighter, let alone. And there's so much backstory, and there's so much MMA saying whatever the case is. Like, people are trying to blame UFC. No, this is not this is a federation problem. MMA SA. And while they have contradicted themselves by trying to push new people through, they've pushed people through maybe when they're ready. There's other people that are there that have more experience and have worked infinitely more fights because of the years they've been involved in, and that could have been there and could have pushed through. And it's got to be an organic push. You've got to feed into the system. And it just was heartbreaking. I didn't make it. I came in contact with somebody. I had my flight booked, my hotel booked, and I didn't get on the plane because even though I got a negative test result, I had been in contact with somebody, my barber, who was tested positive, and
Your shaver.
Vikram. Anyway, Vikram
Damn
is
it, Vikram.
Vikram. Anyway, so I sit on the plane. I wasn't there, but I was sitting to my missus. Shut so loud, the dogs didn't know what to do. And anyway, the point is that I saw it and I realized what had happened. Other people didn't realize. And like everyone's like, checked him, but people respond differently. When he posted out, to me, it looked like it's happened. And I'm trying to replay because I've watched the fight over and over.
So let's do this. Let's pull up that video so we can actually watch it. I just before we pull up the video, I just want to go through a couple of points here. Obviously, the biggest one being, unfortunately, and you know, like if I say something and you say something, the response is always from like Master's kind of point of view is going to be that we're biased and we're trying to push an agenda against them. Firstly, it's like, I understand that that's going to be the natural defense. The reality of the situation is that I'm not trying to be their enemy, first off. I'm trying to help the sport go in the right direction. I wholeheartedly believe, and I think most people who follow me know this, I don't think the people at the top and the people on that board are the right people to carry the sport. I feel that that board should belong to the athletes, and it should belong to the right people in place. Unfortunately, the people in there are self-serving on a self-serving board. Everyone knows that. I'm not beating around the bush, but I'm not going to sit and harp on how bad they are if they're not being bad. And if there's positives to post or stuff to talk about, we'll do our best to talk about it. The reality of the situation here is that beyond me or you or anybody else, like you said, John McCarthy, who literally wrote the rules for MMA, has come out and said, this is an atrocity in fewer words. He said something along the lines like, he started with the promoter, and that's where I want to go, because you mentioned it. This is not the EFC. The EFC do not assign these refs. They have a sanctioning body in the form of Mixed Martial Arts South Africa. They assign the refs. You've got Ferdinand Besson, who is the vice president, and as far as I understand, is the head referee. He's the guy who's going to...
He's the head official.
Yeah. He's the guy responsible in many ways for who's in the cage. And I mean, he's in the cage in and out. Every second fight, he keeps going back and forth. So I had the argument with someone on today, and it's not a thing. It's he's going from vice president to head official to referee to cornering his guys all in the same night, in the same promotion. That has to be a conflict of interest. So the guys are, and my counter argument to the person online was, how many times have you seen Herb Dean step out the cage and go corner somebody? You're never going to see that. And that's a problem, but it's also a unique problem to us. The reality of the situation is what happened here was a failure, not only by the referee, but a failure from the sanctioning body to ensure the person in the cage was adequately trained, was adequately experienced, and had the adequate knowledge to deal with a high pressure situation. Because if we want to give her the benefit of the doubt, that is a very high pressure situation. You're on TV, you're going around all over the world, people are watching you. It's maybe not the biggest fight on the card, but it's still it's the first fight on the card. So there's a lot of pressure. So in some ways, MMA SA have to accept some responsibility for that, whether they will or won't, that's up to them. But John McCarthy says in there, he starts with the promoter, and he's like, if it's a sanctioning body, they should be ashamed knowing full well that they put somebody in there who absolutely did not have the right tools to do that job. And that's the biggest, for me, the biggest travesty out of all of this, besides obviously the kid's life being in danger. You put a kid's life in danger by pushing an agenda, and you put a kid's life in danger by trying to force transformation, let's say. We all want to see the ladies, and I was one of the big advocates for it. I gave him so much stick when we saw someone like Cheyenne Strauss getting sidelined continuously, but we cannot accept that you're not putting someone in there just because you feel there's pressure or whatever it is, without adequate tools. It doesn't matter if that person is who they are and where they're from and what their background is. If you don't have the experience to be in there, you shouldn't be in there, full stop. That's a simple situation here. And the worst part out of all of that is that MMA SA then shortly after that put a post on celebrating her being in there, literally using a photo of the guy sprawled out, choked out, stiff-legged, like, man, I don't even, yeah.
The problem that I have is that, okay, there's many things that you've touched on here. People are going to look at it. The people, I think, generally are people going to see it for what it is. There's not. I want to tell you this is a critique and not a criticism. It's hard because we've all swallowed, like, this has been hot and everybody's spoken about it to us, etc. In a circle of MMA, and the biggest thing is that even fighters have come out against this. Now, I just want to touch on the basis of the board, and something I disagree with you on is that I don't believe that the board should consist of fighters, because I believe fighters are emotional. I do, however, understand that our mixed martial arts community is small, and this will feed onto the 30% thing. He is our head official. He is the one who signs off on assigning the refs, whether it's Nick Savides that actually does it. Ultimately, the responsibility and blame will lie with Ferrier, because he signs off on it. I do understand that the circle is small because MMA is small. It's still growing in this country. Like, yeah, you make reference to Herb Dean and Mark Goddard, etc. Those international refs will never step out in corner. However, there's infinite fighters have made the decision not to be part of a club or whatever the case is. And that's, I wouldn't, like when I started officiating and I came onto the board and did work with him, I had to distance myself, and I was associated to GBH at the time. I had to literally stop training there because I didn't want anybody, and for a long time, I wouldn't officiate a GBH fighter because I just didn't want the question of bias. I think people that know me know that I'm outspoken, but I'm very truthful. Sometimes delivery is harsh, but sometimes you need it. Like, this is that I've spoken out on MMA SA, and there's a lot of passing the buck, and it's sad. Somebody should take ownership of this. Like, ultimately, you've got head official who is reffing. He doesn't really judge. He may have judged I wasn't there. Coaching, cornering, etc. At the weigh-ins, and it's something that the circle is small, so you kind of have to have the people there. Like, you'll double up as something. But when you've got 2 fighters on a 7-fight card, you should recuse yourself. We're going to get into why people shouldn't have fought, and there should have been only a 6-fight card just now. It's so tough, Al. The circle is small. Like, the people, there's a lot of us. We all know each other. Whether we like to admit it or not, there are really a handful. Natasha was pushed through, and she did amateur events. She worked with me, All Africas, and I said to her, I didn't like what she did the one day, and I said to her, we're chatting, I was like, so what's your background? No, I've done some grappling riffing. This was 3 years ago, so I know the process. I know where she's been and where she's come from. And I was like, what MMA have you done? No, I haven't really, but I'm learning, and that's okay because it was amateurs and it was not okay, but it was a learning process, and I kind of embraced the fact that we need to develop, because let's say Bobby, Vic, and Ferdy got COVID. Who else is going to ref? Brad Block hasn't been around for 2 events. I'm not sure why. They've got Shireen Strauss there. She also wasn't available, maybe COVID. I'm not sure. There has to be a balance between a handover process and a reality check. And this time, it bit them. She should have been instructed, and this should be drummed into her head. Safety first. Err on the side of caution. We always wanted to be on time. but rather early, never late. Like that's, I would say to the girl, rather early, never late, always on time. It's a silly little saying I used to say to the rest under me. And sometimes you get it right, but I would always back you if it's early. You know, there's a way, because we live to fight another day.
Yeah.
Late, a battle to defend. Because what is the process? What are they going to do? Because her confidence would have taken a knock, and we're chatting about her, and it's not good. It's sad. It's very hard to come back from John McCarthy swearing with your name on the end.
I didn't even know he swore.
Like emotionally, he's a professional guy. This is not fun and games. This is business, and big business for them. So I hope that she has a mentor. I hope that she has counseling in a way, and I hope that she is able to learn from it and come back or do what she needs to do. But there are people that could have been blooded that were at that event. They're definitely 100%. I know them. I've spent time. I've helped train them. I've helped mentor them. I took one of them overseas. So I just think it could have been dealt with differently. It's sad, bro. Like, it's an emotional thing for me.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's like chaos. But what I want to do, obviously, one of the most frustrating parts, I think, for me and you who get very worked up about these kind of things, was the response. I know you had said to me, like, take it easy, like.
Sorry, so I want you to pause there. What grounds me, bro, and I'll face it, is that John McCarthy commented on it before MMA SA did it.
Yeah,
and that speaks volumes, because you have to address it. We have to face the elephant in the room.
So that's
for them to speak, as opposed to dealing with it first. Guys, we understand this is a scenario. We're investigating. This is put it to be communication.
Sure.
2 times.
Yeah, this is where I was getting very frustrated, is the communication. And the communication, so obviously I'm interacting with the CEO of MMA, and like the feedback you're getting, you're just like, dude, come on, like, are you actually being serious? Like, you're waiting for camera angles. Like, it's very clear as day to see what is going on. You don't need camera angles. Like, you're already trying to justify that perhaps there's more to it than what we've seen. You know what I mean? So like, you're in the reason. So that's obviously what they've been waiting for more. They said it themselves. They're waiting for more camera angles from the EFC, and a potential contentious issue is what they're saying. And I think that the people that saw that were like, people were infuriated by this, because like literally the whole MMA world has all agreed that this is an atrocity, and you guys are talking about camera angles. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, this is stock standard MMA SA, where they've taken a guy, they've given him this title of CEO, and they've thrown him right in the front of the fire of social media, and the guys who are actually really responsible are nowhere to be seen. You've heard nothing from the vice president, who's the head official. You've heard nothing from the president of MMA SA. They're mum. They're saying nothing. Like, if I was the president of MMA SA on Sunday evening, and I warned them, I said to them, let me tell you guys now, maybe you don't know how this works. This video that I'm going to show you now had done 44,000 views by the time I had showed them. I had said to them, by tomorrow morning when you wake up, because America is going to wake up when we go to sleep, you're going to wake up to a whole different story. It's going to be wildfire. I would never had John McCarthy in my head, but I knew it was going to be all over. It was going to be the talk of the town. I said to them, the fact that none of you are addressing this speaks volumes. The fact that your president is too scared at this point in time, he'll make a video about everything else that suits him or the IMAF. He won't come out on the most contentious referee issue we've seen here. He won't come out and say, I understand the animosity. I understand the frustration and the anger. I'm the president of MMA SA. We are looking into it. Please give us time to consult, review, and investigate. Everything would have been way calmer, but you never see that from them. There's no leadership, and that's the way it goes.
There's a massive disconnect, and coming from that, I know the disconnect. I know that there is people who put themselves on pedestals, and then the rest of us are cannon fodder, and there's no communication. And unfortunately, they're using the CEO, who is literally passing the ball. He's just passing the buck.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I mean, again, I go back to a reference. People were chirping about the Cal Eleanor fight, and I said, if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. And we did. And it's sat there, and people made mistakes, I feel, but they also didn't do sense. Although I probably didn't give you a different answer, I at least communicated and was open to dialogue.
100%. If I'm raising an issue, I'm not expecting you to agree with me. I just need to know that there's something happening. You know what I mean? And you speak to like the CEO, he's just, it's noted, or this person's dealing with it, or that. Like I thought CEOs make decisions. They're like, this is what we're doing. They're like, this person's going to deal with this or that. I'm like, okay, anyway. But listen, just let's hit play on this video. I'm hope there's going to be a little bit of sound here. It is a bit hard at times. I want to just like, it's hard to watch this video, to be honest, but like I've tried to find any bit of reasonable doubt. I'm going to watch a video and just kind of like, maybe we can go through if she did do something right or something wrong. Let's hit it. Let me just see why there's no volume.
The domination. Nothing to do with one fighter beating another fighter. It's the length that he was beaten for. Now the choke's in there. Sorry to cut myself. The choke in there, he's readjusted. You then up, it there flattens him out. When he puts his left foot out, left hand out.
Yeah, he's out. He's out.
I would have.
I just
right on pops. But when that left hand posted out, I would have forgotten if she had seen that. Because you got to look at it, the whole image. That whole image is a body invert, spread out, no hook. And he's now stopped bending the choke arm out to base. That to me it like a tap. It looked like a floppy hand. Then when the right hand, that's chance number 2 gone. And we can carry on.
And just interesting to note, so if you see where Julio Plaikis is looking, this is exactly the line I was sitting in. He's looked at the ref, he has shouted, he's out. And then he's looking at his corner, like almost trying to like figure out what to do now, because he knows that this guy is out. You can see it quite clearly. Like if I'm going to try to take it back, you see he's looking at his corner, he looks again, he's out. This movement is all Julio Plaikis. It's not his opponent. He's readjusting. He doesn't understand. Look at this, how stiff his legs are, and he's still cranking and cranking and cranking. Eyes rolling the back of his head. The commentators at this time are even shouting, he's out, he's out. And the eyes are, it's madness.
What people don't understand is that when you choke somebody,
see this. And like, why are we lifting his arm like this?
So you are meant to check. You are meant to check. That is one thing, but it was too long. Too long in the like I got goosebumps. You are meant to check. I only meant to give direction. So you will say, instead of "Are you okay?" because you don't know, you could gargle at you, which means it could be, is that a yes, is that a no? So you give it a fighter instruction. This is direct from the book. Show me you're okay. Show me that you're okay. Not show me. There's nothing. There's nothing. There's no thumbs up. There's nothing. And what people don't understand is that there's many different ways that your body will react when you pass to lose consciousness. A lot of people go limp, which has happened plenty of times, but other people go stiff. Some people snore. Some people's eyes roll back in their head. There are too many factors and too many, like you can forgive that. But literally Julia readjusts, and I'm just like, I'm screaming at the TV because I was watching on the internet. You must have been screaming at the page. I know my friends that were there, and there's been a massive outcry. This is not okay. And people will go, oh, the people justified, and sorry, I just want to take you. They'll say, like, for example, if this was a title fight, they'd say, let it go longer. No, there's no difference. There's a number one on the undercard to a title. Difference is rounds. It makes no difference other than that. This here, if this was the EFC, if this was the UFC, people are getting.
Yeah, 100%.
Whatever, I made a mistake.
I've paused it on this image because this is something that we spoke about, and you said rather early than late. At this point, you've got a guy who's got 2 hooks in, a choke fully set. His opponent, his arms are out dead in front of him. He's making 0 attempt to defend. She's lifted his arm. It's gone floppy and flopped to the ground. He's out. Even if you think that he's not, you 100% should know. So at this time, I stopped. I kind of dropped my phone on the table and I was staring. I was like, oh my God, please stop. You know what I mean? Because I could see what Julio Plakis could see, and he was looking at his corner he even says to his corner, he's out. And he looks at the ref, he's like, he's out. You could, he was starting to panic himself. Even if you gave her the absolute benefit of the doubt at this point in time, where he is clearly out, she's not sure, and she stops the fight there, let's say he isn't out. It's inevitable. He's going out. That's still, the opponent might, I wasn't out. Why did you stop the fight? Who was it? Mike Chiesa and...
There was no response when Julia got up.
Yeah.
He lay there for a long time.
But I'm saying at this point, just if she had stopped it here, even if we give her the benefit of the doubt, even if by some miracle he wasn't out at this point and she had stopped it, we would have said, maybe a bit early, but he was going. He was going to go to sleep, so you stopped him from going to sleep. Why would you not stop, even after you've lifted his hand the first time and it's got a limp, you still let it carry on? That is the most confusing part for me. This visual right here. So she's just lifted his arm and he's just dropped to the floor. And she's like, he's fine. That still confuses me.
I can't answer what's going on in her head. I could just say that it's wrong. And it's a lot of people who don't know me are going to say, what do you know? I know a lot. I go to work. Just because you don't see me now doesn't mean I didn't work. I've done thousands. And I'm not John McCarthy, a big, but I know that that's wrong. I know what to look for and how to look for it. And MMA is in a situation now where they need to educate her going forward. They do need to bench her for a while. However long that is up to them. But there's got to be. I'd love to have a chat if she feels, to see if there's a justification from her side, or if she was like, hang on, I made a mistake. Even if it's after the fact and she's looked at the footage and gone, oh my goodness, what have I done? That's something to work with. But if you are dealing with somebody and they just don't want to admit it, or the system around them doesn't want to admit it, there's very little hope. Yeah. Because you've got to accept first and then change. That's hard to come back from. I must tell you, there's a lot of things wrong with that. Not many positive.
I must be honest with you. I woke up this morning and obviously my inbox was, every day it's pretty full, to be honest, but it's like I was just getting blown up left, right, and center about, and people I'm trying to be understanding of the fact that the internet's harsh, man. People don't hold punches, and I literally woke up feeling sorry for her this morning. I was like I don't want to see somebody lose their job. Incompetency, unfortunately, results in these kind of things. I don't think she should be thrown to the wolves, but that's exactly it. Somebody like Ferdy if he should have been, and this is the scariest part for me from MMA SA. Nobody's standing up for her. Nobody's coming out and saying, look, we understand she did X, Y, Z. Regardless whether it's wrong or right, we're going to take her back. We're going to try to get some better training. Ferdy, who's supposed to be this head official with all this experience, X, Y, Z. There's guys with a lot of experience here. You know, let's take her under our wing. Let's like you say, let's blood her. Let's train her. Let's educate her. You know, we still want her part of the system. We don't just want to boot her to the curb. No, and I don't want that at all. I want her to go back and learn from it. It's going to be very hard after. I mean, when John McCarthy, I mean, me talking shit about you is that, but when John McCarthy's picking it up, dude, that's hectic.
On like it's made that like the pinnacle. It's hard to come back from. You know, Al, another thing, people have got to be real. It's like I'm going to reference rugby, and I know you were a half decent rugby player, not better than myself, but the team. I thought I was at Glenroy High School and I played club rugby. I broke my leg in the first year. Then I came back and I was on a good team. I did my rehab correctly. I lost some weight. I was down to 120. I was mobile.
According to you. Mobile like
but I was playing good. And I went and KwaZulu-Natal trials or whatever. Got into a punch-up. I didn't get selected. But that's not the reason I was selected. It was because I wasn't good enough. And I loved rugby. I lived and I breathed it. It was such an important thing. And I was like dead set on, I'm going to make the Sharks at the very least, and I'm going to have a career out of this. I'm going to make money doing this for whatever period of time. And then I always wanted, and so the business. And I'll do you one better. My father was a famous musician. This is a true story. And my grandfather sat me down. I play the drums, so don't tell anyone. It's out there, no? And my grandfather said to me, and before rugby, I'm going to be like old man. And my grandfather heard me play, and I was okay. Played a bit of church band, played a little bit there. He just said to me, you got to be real with yourself. Like, cool, how much money, do you like nice things or do you like being a musician? I was like, well, I like nice things and I like being this. And he's like, well, are you going to make any money? And I was like, yeah, I think so. He's like, what are the chances? Like when your dad did it easier, I mean, my man was a phenomenal musician. And he got lucky with a very good band. He made some money. But the reality struck me that I wasn't good enough. No matter how much I loved it, I wasn't placed there. I wasn't meant to be there. Same as rugby. Thought I was the bee's knees. Wasn't good enough. I thought I was maybe one or two of my teammates, but the selectors didn't think so. And I don't have a career in rugby or music. Like, that's the reality.
Spoiler alert.
I love it. Not for you. Maybe another path. You know what I mean? Even when I with Dallas, I was like, cool, I'm going to fight too. And then I did one amateur fight and I was like, it's very hard. Like, it's maybe not for me. Find another part, which I did in MMA to be, and still stay a part of it. But the reality is that I'm not good enough. Maybe she's meant to be a judge or a cut lady. I'm not saying she must be removed from the sport, but maybe there are other ways. Sit down and be real with yourself. And you got to surround yourself with people that are going to tell you, maybe this is not for you, maybe try this. And stay in there and be the best hand rapper around. Do a nutrition course. Be involved. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's the way. And that's something that she has to realize herself, if that's the case, but with the help of those around you. Otherwise, you're going to get the wooden mark. I don't understand how their parents never told them you can't sing. But then abuse, it blows my mind. I'd rather be honest. That's how I feel.
You'll do great on Idols, trust me.
Oh, bro. I've got to look.
Yeah, dude, I think, it's unfortunately one of those things that are going to be spoken about for quite some time. And I suspect that video is going to be looping around for quite some time. Like those kind of things don't disappear easy.
It's like the Yannick Bahati slap.
Yeah.
And then Yannick put away. Like, that should never go away. That is forever. Every time it comes on, and so do I. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. We step the So we're going to talk about all the negative stuff and then talk about the positive stuff. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
So I have a problem, first and foremost, whether he was awesome or tails or not. That fight should have been. Apart, I don't know the percentage, I haven't worked it out, but the percentage was of weight disparity. I will do later, and I'll message you. But that fight shouldn't have been allowed to come on because he was showing that he didn't want to. That to me was, and that is, you're off weight, you're never going to make that 7 pounds in 2 hours or whatever it was. You are looking visibly, and if something had happened to him, everybody's going to be down the Federation's throat, they're going to be down EFC's throat, even though it's got nothing to do with this. People don't understand. Master steps up and governs the fight. That's ridiculous. Even if it is playing possum. That for me is like, cool, you played possum, out. Like, you don't get dragged. If that happened in Bellator, UFC, PFL, or any major, it's out. And that's the truth. Yeah. Because from a journalist's perspective, look how he stands fine. That's irrelevant. He got dragged to and from. That is showing me you can't fight. Yes.
Yeah.
Doubt, there's no doubt. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I know no one was happy with me because my video looked way worse than this. But I mean, like, and now he's like kind of like, oh, my legs are weak. But that's exactly the point. The theatrics, whether it's theatrics or not, what's transpired there, the reality of the situation is very plain and simple. He's missed weight by 7 pounds. Whether he's fucked around or not, he's missed weight by 7 pounds. This is a guy coming out of Ferdy Bisson's gym, or he's training there. Whether Ferdy's his head coach or not, I don't really know. But he's got junkyard on his shorts and he posts pictures in there. So never mind all of the other factors. You're the head of the vice president of MMA SA, who's sanctioning all of this, has this guy basically running a mock of the promotion that his board is sanctioning. You know what I mean? Like, and so we have to ask the question: if it was from another gym, would he have got the same treatment?
I hope it never happens again. Like, it is sad, and it is from somebody, like, there is that added burden of proof or burden of responsibility that is, like people say they judge the teachers twice. You know what I mean? Like, there's a disconnect. Nobody wants to miss weight, I don't believe. But if you don't care, it becomes a habit and you get away with it. If your name if I have a gym and somebody is representing my gym, they're on weight, and if they miss weight, it's by a few grams, not by somebody that is out by so much.
If there's a complication, we understand. A complication can happen. But I mean, I think Trezeguet's missed weight for the last 3 fights in a row. If you're his coach or his teammate, surely you're saying, dude, like, you're just not going to make the weight. Stop agreeing to those weights. You know what I mean? Like, surely.
I've been involved in fighting and things like that, and I'm involved in contract negotiations, and you literally agree. You sign for money, and you sign for weight, and you sign for a date. These are the most important factors. And if you are just churning out fighters and disconnected from their weight. So like, this is what we used to do. And it's ironic that fat boys are talking about weight reduction and weight campaign.
Literally, I made this meeting and I called it the Fat Boys.
So like, Ellis he fought a light heavy years ago when there was very little regulation, but he became a great manipulator of his body. Anyway, but the point is that we agreed to a fight at a certain weight. He would then, we would weigh in on the day, we would have a plan. The plan would mostly come from him because he's got the nutritional brain, etc. But he would then have a plan. I'm going to be down to this weight by then, and then I'm going to cut X amount of kgs the day before, or X amount of grams the day before. But there's a plan to it. And a week out, because let's say you're a month out. We're going for, let's say you're 6 weeks out. I want to know your weight for once a week for the first 2 weeks, but with goals. Coming closer to the fight, I want daily weights. And I want to know what the problem is. And I want to know, okay, you're not dropping. Okay, we're still 10 days out and you're plateauing. That's fine. Let's cut the cucumber because it will help you drop weight, or let's cut the sodium. Or I'm using silly examples, but you are in control. You know what's around, you know what's happening in your camp. If you care, this whole thing is about caring, and it's our battle that the person in charge of it is not caring. Like, it bugs me. Like, or there's a perception of not caring.
Yeah.
And that bugs me. And it happens again going into the Ricky Mashalis thing. It's like, I know the mandatory, there's if you don't pass your brain concussion test the day of the fight, you certainly were never going to pass it a month before or 6 weeks out. Like, it wasn't going to happen. He got knocked out 8 weeks ago. Yeah. And he had the deck. Doctors were worried. We were all concerned, whatever the case is. Never mind the fact that he shouldn't have even been allowed to fight because he had an altercation in the back. Because it's just a free-for-all at the moment. And there just seems to be a lack of control. They're concentrating too much on the control of people, and there's just such a disconnect. It's like the rich are getting richer, and this has got nothing to do with MMA, so money-wise, but the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poor, and there's this huge gap in the middle class that nobody knows what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know? Oh, it's the fighter's responsibility. Yeah, but if you care, you know. Like, that's Larry. He tells the story on repeat because he's 73. His son, he would say, boys, I don't know how anyone can miss weight. I knew what our boy Jason was on weight every day of the year. And he did. He really did. Within a kilo, he knew what his fighter, and his son was a very good fighter, kickboxing, etc. He knew literally what his son weighed and his fighter weighed all the time, all within a range. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's now a team thing. Individual responsibility, it's also team responsibility. And how do you not know that the weight is off to such a degree? And how do you not know, when you're in charge of medicals and in charge of these things, how do you not know that your guy's not scared? Never mind that. It's literally documented that there's a certain prescribed medical suspension. Which means the medical suspension doesn't only disallow the fight, it disallows training.
Yeah.
It should have been 30, 45 days of Ricky sitting on his couch doing nothing, not jogging, not walking, sitting and watching TV, going about his daily business, but no exertion. That is what that means. 100%. And to even try it, and this is where people are like, oh, it's EFC, it's like tax law. It's an accountant's job. There's the line. It's an accountant's job to go on the line. That's your job. It's got to be governed, and the government have got to say, right, boom, there it is. You can't, they'll play to the rules, but the rules are being bent by the federation, which is not right. Like, I don't know how anybody can think. I even said to you, how's Ricky on this card? How's it even a thought that he's on this card was knocked out in front of us? Yeah. It wasn't a TKO, it was a knockout. So the definition of TKO and a KO is TKO is not defending himself, and a KO cannot defend himself. That's very important, and remember those words.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't end himself. He went stanky leg and he went down. He ate a shot and he got knocked out. Whether it's a flash knockout or this, it doesn't matter. You're out. If he couldn't pass a concussion on the day he didn't pass it previously, then he goes and says, we've been sparring every day. What? Who spars every day?
Yeah, I think that's also just like that's a little bit of fighter talk. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I get it. It's like somebody like, come on, guy, you shouldn't have. Well, if you're talking about you shouldn't have been in the gym. You should have been at home.
Yeah. There's just 2 points on that. The first one is obviously you've mentioned there is for a KO there's a mandatory time for a medical suspension. I remember with who was it? I think it was BB actually, or Baron Ninoba, had been after the spinning back kick to Elaine. He was put on the next card or the card after, and I still remember commenting. I was like, "How on earth is this guy on a card after being literally sparked by one of the most vicious KOs you've ever seen?" And he like kind of said, the point I'm getting to there is fighters are going to fight. Unfortunately, they do have to be looked after. If you said to Ricky the next day, Ricky, I've got a rematch for you on Sunday morning, yeah, he'll take 100%. He'll take that fight. And that's what I'm saying. His team should have said, you know what, Ricky, let's push for September, October. You know, let's recover. Yeah, let's do things properly. So like I feel terribly. Sorry, were you breaking up there, sir? Go for it.
So let's say they did a brain scan the week after and he passed. There should be he shouldn't fail the day before unless he's been sparring too hard. But the point is that you can't be running around on the day of trying to get cleared.
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
Because you got to worry. People say, "Oh, you got to be looked after." You got to look after yourself. Like, and if people are fired up and they want to fight, and fighters do want to fight, your team around you got to say, "Hey, big guy, slow down.
Yeah,
let's look about it in. Let's be able to read out bedtime stories in 5 years' time." That's the reality of that. And I battle because, like, no, we're picking on Ferrier in his camp, but there's a disconnect. Whether if he says he doesn't, that's the problem. They shouldn't be fighting out of junkyard because Ferrier owns junkyard, and that's an issue. Like it's a big issue, and I think that everyone's and we're probably going to get letters and all of that, and it's okay. It's all right too, no 100%. Problem. But this is right. Also, there's got to be some blame placed on Ricky. Like, he has to take accountability for himself. We are all responsible to ourselves. Only when we come out, colour out the line, are our people around us, the people that trust around us, people who care about us, should push us in those lines. You know what I mean? Like lane assist. You know, drive your beep, okay, come straight again. That's kind of how I feel, you know?
Yeah, I hear you, man. Like I just feel so sorry for the guy to go through an entire camp to be told at the weigh-ins there's a problem that you need to try and fix on 5 day. Like to be put through the ringer like that it shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. I mean that problem should have been solved at worst case 2 weeks prior to fight night, you know. So I mean, on top of that, Johan Bezaidenhout had to go through a camp after a long layoff, fly up from Cape Town, leave his family behind, and that's not Ricky's fault as well. And I know Ricky felt incredibly bad about it, and I don't think it's the first time it's happened to Johan either. You know, to then have to like, and then you got to say like, sorry, dude, like it's out of my hands. But that should have been stopped long before. I think multiple factors: the organization, the sanctioning body, his coaches, his whoever, his management, everyone. Someone should have said it. I think it's a little bit too close to being knocked out, this fight. Like, let's give it let's go to the next card or the card after, you know what I mean? Like, let's ask Graham, let's ask for the fight a month later or something like that. It would have prevented a lot of problems. And then to go through all of the camp kind of stuff and the money and the training and the sacrifice, man, it's terrible. But anyway, just let's look at the good stuff. One of the most incredible moments. There was some people didn't enjoy the fight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great heavyweight fight. Tabani Ndebele had to go through some fire early on. He took 2 head kicks that really stung him. Was almost caught in a choke to survive. And I know Triple H came out in the second round not feeling great. I actually spoke to some of these guys on Fight Night, and they said he just wasn't feeling great. Like he said, he came out in the second round. I would imagine a bit of adrenaline dump. Maybe threw a little bit too much in the first round. Had it in his head wholeheartedly that he would get Tabani out in the first round, and came super close. And then to watch Tabani turn the tide, man, was incredible. Obviously, with the backstory, in hindsight, it made things even more special. But the biggest part, and as I started thinking about it, like my shoulders are tingling, is the just pure raw emotion when you won that fight. It was, I've never seen anything like that in the sport. It was incredible.
Both dudes pretty well. Like I know Triple H. I've competed against him at grappling premium on my head. I've told the story, but I suppose it keeps me relevant. But I beat, but not without hurting me. And Tabani is just, we were training in the same gym, rolled with him a little bit. I know the camp that he's from, like Zach's my mate, and there's a couple of guys in this big guy that they're apart from Zach. A very would have done his best to chuck the snot out of him. So and thankfully so, because they put him in deep water and he survived. Because I was like, yep, you're done. But his conditioning is crazy. Like when he says he trains 7 days a week, he really does. Like these NC stairs and NC stuff, and you'll see on his social media, bro. Those are never-ending stairs. Like they are massive, and he does. More importantly, I've seen him. I take my dogs for a walk. There's a picture on my Instagram of him holding one of my dogs. He does knuckle push-ups that he jumps. I mean, these weird crawling push-up things, bare knuckle. The man is tough and he's conditioned. And I think I would have thought his neck is all bent, and I don't know how he's going to do that, but he did, and it's amazing. But like, I'm sad for Triple H because Triple H is a good dude. Like,
he's such a cool character.
If Tabani moves on, I think Triple H can be a champion. I do believe that.
I think it's also one of those kind of things like you've got a guy in Triple H who's one thing I always notice about, there's a certain style of fighter, and because I'm like that. I'm always the joking guy, and then have to, like, halfway through the joke figure out that, okay, it's time to be a little bit more serious now, and that's just training, you know. Like and where you go compete, you've been like joking the whole morning. You'd be like, oh fuck, I better switch it on because shit's about to get real. Triple H is that kind of character, but I think he would have learned a lot. I think his team would have learned a lot about pace and about you know, like, as a big guy to like double up on a high kick is energy sapping. Like, people don't understand, and like he threw like a couple of things, like a flurry of hands, a leg kick, and then he went shot for the takedown. But he didn't. He lost connection in the takedown. Like, shot like a decent double leg, got like a nice bit of turn, and then let go of it. I mean, like he dumped him instead of like kept their top position. That could have changed so many things. So like those small little things, you know, like a small wrestling adjustment on how he completed that double leg could have changed things for him. You know, a bit of side control, a bit of pressure from there, a bit of like roughing up, you know, a bit of damage from there could have changed things. So but definitely by no means the end of the story for Triple H, man. And he's such a good character. He's one of the guys that the EFC really needs at the moment. You know, a big guy. He takes a lot of risks in there. He goes forward. He's a character. He's funny. Like he says good things and funny things. Like, he comes out with his guitar, and you know, he's just a good guy, man. And we need guys like Triple H in the EFC. You know, he's a great character, man.
I don't know what Conrad has got in terms of stars. I mean, Conrad's a big guy, but he's not Triple H big.
Yeah,
I would imagine Triple H to be the biggest guy in his gym.
sure.
I know Tabani may be the biggest guy in Novagen, but there's a couple of seconds that put him under big pressure, like, and they're really good, like brown belts. So his stand-up is good, but I mean, his submission defense is really good. And I think maybe it helps when you train. You should always, like, if you've got really big dudes on you and you're able to manage that pressure, you kind of know where you are so that it's not foreign territory when you go in and fight. Which didn't have big guys. Like, maybe he was the biggest student in the gym and throwing people around.
Yeah.
Like, that could, like, again, I don't know the structure of Brothers in Arms. I know the intensity is good, but I don't know the size of the guys.
Yeah, the technique and the way things work are different on big guys. You know what I mean? Like, I remember at a stage, like, my jiu-jitsu was fire. It was just like sweeps. I could just invent sweeps if I wanted to. And I was like, sweeps are easy until you match a guy who's on top of you at the same weight and like 6'3", and you're like, no sweeps.
You know what's even more happens to me all the time. You try, no chance. It'll just take you back and choke you. So, you come up against somebody and you're like, okay, I'm just going to stop you from doing what you want. And then it's a bad day at the gym.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's that. But
I must be honest, I think the flack, there's a lot of flack to be had. It's no joke, it's no secret that EFC is in a rebuilding phase.
Yeah.
COVID, everybody, money is not plentiful like it used to be. And that's just general business. Never mind the fight business, which is
a great point.
It is. Like, I do waste. People need to throw away waste. I'm a necessity. Even though I'm a grudge purchase, I'm a necessity. You have to get your stuff away and throw it away. Your add-ons become less and less. Like, people will cancel policies, cancel advertising, and cancel, I'm not going to buy shoes this month, or I'm not going to buy a new car. You know what I mean? All those, the pretty things go, but the core stays. Fighting, unfortunately, is a luxury. Yeah. Like, it really is. And it costs money for these people. And my heart bleeds because I know what you and the potential. And there's been no other comparison because we can only compare EFC to what they were. They set their own standard. There is nothing like it in this country. And there has been nothing like it in this country. We've had pop-up shows. I've owned one of them. We've had all of these things, but they didn't compare closely to the EFC. And now, because of money, and whatever reason, it is money. And whether it was there spent or not spent or sponsor stuff, there's been no product to sell. I mean, you look at this card. Nobody wants to put on a 7-5 card. But COVID came along. So it's my print. COVID came along. There, printing. Absolutely. There's sorry about that. Yeah. Stern words. I'm going to send a strongly worded email on the Justin Ferrier. Sad because everyone needs to see CFC said, guys, they're in a rebuilding scenario. Like, we can't judge them hard yet. Yes, they are getting their act together, and yes, they are coming back, but they are giving us the only entertainment. People must be grateful. Like, I do feel very strongly about that. People need to be grateful because this used to be great, and this card, I mean, yes, it was. I mean, it was a killer. It was a killer final fight. Thankfully, British and Marlborough.
Yeah. Stars of the show.
That's it. That's it. But they did it when everyone else criticized them. Don't do it then. You know what I mean? Or rather, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Like, that's how I feel. But they do watch it with a critical eye. Just be real about it. Also, be real about what circumstance around it. It's because money is a problem, dude, for everyone.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. Business is in a tough position. I just on that, I think what Graham had kind of said was, and he was quite honest about it. I asked him, like, is this the card after the last card that can redeem you? And he was like, no. Like in some way he was kind of saying, like, give us the end of the year, to judge. Let's all get through to the end of this year. Let's get through this tough time, and then we can look collectively. And I mean, we can see you've got Zulu versus Pico, great fight. Kabesa versus Kanyeba, great fight. And they started, hope that these fights all stay together. Horatio Lanu back with Panga Treso, Shana Power, Sanchez coming back. They've signed a lot of new talent as well. There's a couple of UK based. They're talking about Senegalese wrestlers that have been signed up. So there is, I don't want to say like high caliber kind of fights, but there's plans in place. Say that.
If those Senegalese wrestlers are like what I watch on YouTube, they will tower over Triple H, and they'll just be proper. What is your opinion on Shana Power coming back?
Yeah, we spoke about Shana Power the other day. Like, it seemed to me that she never quite reached the height of her potential. That's the way I see it. She just, for whatever reason, whatever was going on, technically she has a vast amount of tools, and there was a lot of hype behind it. But for whatever reason, she just never reached that potential. So perhaps a new reinvigorated Shana Power. The biggest problem is, like, after Christine Wolmerans, who do you face? Like, there's not much. Kaylee Niedermeyer, who's coming up, but there's like the ladies divisions are super, super, super thin, So like, go for it.
What is Shana Power fighting at?
Let's see if it says.
Because that's important, because she's a big, but she's not. Kaylee's small.
So this is a bantamweight, yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe had so much hype around and didn't, and that she was representing. I'm not saying she crumbled, but something went wrong and she failed, and then wasn't able to move overseas and things like that. I hope this could. I believe she's very good on the ground, and I believe that Christine Wolmerans packs a punch. I think Shana will smother her. Right. What is there afterwards? Maybe there's Mandolino there. That fight was, You hope from the MMA gods that happens at some point. No.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at those cards and how they're constructed, looking good. It's still 3 spaces to fill. What happens if COVID comes along?
Sorry, boy, we lost you there.
I said COVID comes along and it's got better plans. Like it'll ruin cards. Look, we lost Jelson, we lost Cole Henning.
Yeah.
Like, I've trained a couple of times Jelson, and I know guys he's trained with. I watched him train. Cole Henning, something else. He's only buttoned for the last. Like, he's exciting. I think him wanting Boyd is a bridge too far, I must say. I feel that Cole Henning would, because Boyd's got nothing to gain by that.
Yeah.
Cole Henning, to not do himself a disservice, could have one more fight.
Sure. Just
to clear out whatever dust is in the air vent, and just to make it go forward. That's what I feel. But the ball is ultimately in Boyd, and it's caught. Like, he's one of these mythical creatures that's like, well, if I feel like fighting, I will. If I feel like boxing, I will. And I kind of feel I'll win what I want. He's okay. Boyd is one of the stokes on the planet. I promise you, there's no arrogance whatsoever. He's such an arsehole to deal with. He's just grateful for whatever. And he's hell of a nice. He's a hell of a nice. Like I can only. So cool, actually.
Interesting times, Mr. Ferrier. Some great matchups.
Our comments back after this.
Sorry?
You think before we get our comments after posting this?
Oh, we don't worry about comments. You know, I
hope they see it for what it is, that it is not, while it's harsh, it is critique and meant for there to be a better outcome.
Sure.
I don't want to, she's a cool chick. She's sweet and she's dedicated, but she needs to take a look in the mirror, and hopefully those around her won't leave her out or mentor her in a conversation. I love to have fun, like I do with most of, like, and they'll phone me if they know. Like, the funny thing is, if somebody knows I've made there's been some mistake, not as egregious as that, but like if somebody's made a mistake, they'll phone me. What do you think? And I'll be like, "You're phoning me. You know what I'm going to say. This is where you need to know." And there's a reason why people aren't rich. I was never rich. I never wanted to be. It's very hard.
Yeah,
like it is exceptional for everybody, not for everybody.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you know, I think everyone can agree that the decision was wrong, that it was badly wrong. And so, I mean, you can say whatever you want about what we've said, but the reality is that a big mistake was made. So, you know, who says it doesn't matter. Like, everyone's kind of said it already. But like I said, I don't want anybody to lose their job. Or, I mean, it's not those people are dedicating their time. They're not really getting paid for that. I don't want people to have that taken away from them. But we cannot risk people's lives through, I don't want to really say negligence, but like inexperience, and being, you know, unfortunately, my belief is that it's pushed agendas, and you align yourself with certain people in MMA SA, and they'll give you a push in the right direction. You know, there's guys on there that align themselves with each other. You know how funny these things are. These go just like everybody kind of comes out of the woodworks on a day like today, and it's kind of, you know, you take most things with a bit of a pinch of salt. You're like, you know, but why are you telling me this now? Like, because I'm not going to repeat what you've said, but someone sends me a message saying, yeah, but this person and that. I'm like, I can't repeat what you said now, because you're only coming out, you're jumping on the bandwagon now. You know what I mean? Like, I can't listen to that, as, you know, like, sure, it's, maybe you think it's fuel for me to like really put the nails in the coffin for MMA SA, but it's not like that. It's like, if you had such a problem, you should have said something about it. And that's where I am, and that's where you are. And sometimes that people don't agree with that, and that's fine. They cannot agree with that. But I cannot not say something. I will always fight the bullshit for the sake of the athletes. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it, and I'll come out and correct it as best as I can. And if I'm right, I'm right. I'm not going to say, oh, I told you I was right. But I knew that this new era of MMA SA, something bad was going to happen, because of the way they deal with politics, because of the way the nepotism and the cronyism, and it was eventually going to cause a problem. I've said to you 100 times, the snake will bite its tail. That's what will happen. Eventually, that Jenga is going to crumble. And not to say this is going to collapse MMA SA, but it's going to highlight a couple of problems. And it's going to highlight the things I've been saying till I'm blue in the face to people, that there is problems inside MMA SA, and there is cronyism inside MMA SA. Not to say cronyism must cause that kid's life, but what I'm saying is that, in my opinion, that lady was pushed because of alliances. She is the head of MMA SA Gauteng. How did she get to that position? Most people don't even know who she is. You know what I mean? Surely, in a big regional area like Gauteng, we should have somebody a little bit more known in the MMA community. Those were their own words on the board that was selected for MMA SA, was, let's have more MMA representation. You understand what I'm saying? So like but it is what it is, man. I'm a little bit.
Saying there, dude, and I get what you're saying, and I agree with the most of it. The sad thing is that Natasha is somebody that she really does put in the hard yards. Like if you say there's a dojo and call it on the east of Joburg, forgive me, Devonites, everything plan is Joburg to us. She will get in her car to own expense, put in the hours, she'll ref grappling and she'll ref MMA. So she definitely is a servant of the sport. However, correct management is going to channel her and be real with her and say, maybe you're not fitted for that just yet, or let's give it some time and let's concentrate. Let's develop you where your strengths are, like because maybe this is not for you. And it's people are going to look at themselves in the mirror. And I get the cronyism comments. I've used that word with you, but I worry more about that's the problem, is that the people at the top are so far removed from the general public, and that bugs me. Like that's the that's the gap that I try to bridge when I was on the board. Like I was like, people are saying things for a reason. We shouldn't, like if somebody speaks up, like let's address it. Don't put them in a corner, in the naughty corner. It's not like that. Like you should be always respect your opinion. And without fear of reprisal. And there's so many officials that are too scared to say something, and that's wrong. Like, it's not what it's meant to be. I understand leaders have got to lead and leaders got to make decisions, but then stand up for your decisions.
Yeah.
Like, it's important.
Yeah.
Let's plug what we've been meaning to plug for months. The South African Mixed Martial Arts Athlete Fund, which is alive and well and kicking. And we have been lined up, 20th of August, Drickus du Plessis coming down to Devon.
Yes,
and he's putting on a seminar at CMH, who are partners at CMH Mshlanga, which is Mazda, Suzuki, Isuzu. There are lots of brands. Anyway, Drick is going to be driving a Mazda that week. He's going to come down and stay at the Florida Park Hotel, who are other partners, great people, good friends. And I'm going to have to buy him a steak, which I got no problem with. I'll be at dinner with Drick. Anyway, he's coming down. It's a fundraiser for us, and it's a fundraiser for us to help athletes to get to the IMF Worlds at the end of the year, which I hope the travel bans have stopped, and I hope we're able to get it, and I hope people are COVID-free, and I hope all of that so we can get people going there. Then on the 2nd of October, we've got Submission King, all and sundry, which is $350 to enter. We've got great medals. It's sanctioned by Chigasa. How do you say? JJG.
I just said Chigasa because that's what you sound like. Chigasa. Sounds right. Chigasa works.
We'll say sorry. So sanctioned. It is a round-robin tournament. Run on smooth comp. Our partner William Obols at some point will release a link for that. That's his job. And that's going to be a cracker. We've done one before, so this is the second one. We've done one before as a fundraiser, and it was a great day out. It was amazing. No spectators, unfortunately, but there will be some media stuff that we do, and that's just the name of the game. We've got to keep people competing. All funds raised go to the team. We know that, you know that. Anyway, it's all for that, for the South African Team SA. Then you can talk about the 8th because it's in your hometown.
Yeah, so the 8th of October, we're rolling back around to Joburg. It's going to be a tournament-style event. We've got 4 quintet teams that will face off: Israel, BJJ, Gracie Baja, Ilovo, and then the 2 big dogs of Cobrinha Sunninghill, or Cobrinha as a whole, and Team CIT. Hopefully, by some jiu-jitsu maths, we will see a FFM versus CIT final rivalry take place. And in between that, we are going to have we are going to have an exhibition quintet match between the CMH Barbarians and the Green Machine All-Stars. We'll have the Green Machine All-Stars will be headed up by Mr. William Oberholzer, who is the South African amateur head coach, and his opposition will be the legendary Gareth Soldier Boy McClellan, and they'll be kitting out their teams. And then we also have 2 super fights down for you guys, female super fights. We've got Jessica Hill versus Peyton Letcher, which is a massive, massive, massive fight. Monique van Staden, who is the wife of Martin van Staden, who is one of the most, I don't even know what to say, legit grapplers you will ever come across. She is extremely dangerous. She was set to face Jess Winnemy from PFA. Unfortunately, COVID's had plans there, so we are going to be finding her new opponent hopefully the next day or 2. But yeah, massive event. It'll be streamed. I know people are already asking me about where it's going to be streamed. Like, we will let you know closer to the time, but everything is in plan. Again, no spectators, COVID compliances, but you will be able to sit on your couch and watch one of the first of a kind grappling events in this country for free on your couch.
Yeah. Are we still deciding on which channel? Probably going to be Al's channel.
Yeah, we hit it on the BigAl podcast. You're all already there anyway, so make your life easy.
So, yeah.
Mr. Ferrier, I think, yeah, it's going to be, October is going to be a busy month, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I thank you for your time, Mr. Ferrier. Appreciate you stepping in and giving us your insights. I don't want to talk about stuff that I don't know about, so I am very happy that you got in here and got us, give us your opinions. Hopefully positives from here on. Hopefully MMA SA come out with a glaringly positive and mind-blowing resolution, and hopefully they take the bull by the horns and lead the charge. And one of the big dogs is like, this is XYZ and this is our plan going forward. Ms. Brits will be helped in X amount of ways, and maybe even go visit Mr. Inteni and give him a high five. Maybe someone can help him with some rear naked defense, you know, those kind of things. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. So we hope.
Please put on the SAMF website, samf.org, and you can email donates@samf.org to help out in any way. We'll be graciously accepting of any donation.
Of all your rands.
All right. Sure, BigAl.
Thank you, dude. Chat to you soon. Thanks for tuning in, people. We will see you very soon. I have got a interview lined up with Papanga Tresor, which is coming up very soon, and then we're working on a big international name, but I'm not going to say that until it's signed, sealed, and delivered. See you soon. Peace.